Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach. How's it going, guys? 27 days till the first bounce. Has it snuck up quickly on you? Because I really feel like it has come up pretty quick on me. I don't know if it's with round zero coming forward that week or what is it, but it's mid-Feb and it's time to really hone in on some of these, top 8, top 10 sort of different positions and having a look at some of our premiums, absolutely locking them in. These club previews are taking me a bloody lifetime, mate, so I want to move in a bit of a different direction. I'll see if I get them done. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but times are getting away from me. But, so is my antivirus protection. That's getting away from me as well. But, look, today I'm just going to go the top 8 premium defenders. I think there's a clear-cut top 4, and then I've rounded out another 4 to finish it off. But, yeah, I feel like there's a real gap between those top 4 guys, and a lot of you will have 2, maybe even 3 of those in your first 3 positions in the back line. But just before, I wanted to give you, I love to do a couple of random bits and pieces, but just stay tuned. If you're a viewer of Deal or No Deal on Channel 10, which there's probably not many of you out there, but just stay tuned. If your mum watches it, if your dad watches it, Shorty could be featuring at some stage in the year. And I say could, I will be. I will be featuring. I won't give you the full story now because, it's 9:30 and I want to chug a Milo and watch Breaking Bad in about 15 minutes. So I'm going to smash this video out. But mid-January, me, 3 other mates went on Deal or No Deal. One of my mates, he's a big game show guy. He applied for it, wanted us to come along, went up for an audition. They obviously liked us, asked us to come back for a filming. And we did that about a month ago. And my mate got selected to actually go on the show. So it was a pretty crazy day. I'm not exactly retiring at this stage, but I'll give you the story on what actually happened on the game show another time. Just going to give you a little teaser there. But yeah, Shorty's on the briefcase. So if you, I'll tell you when it's going to be on. We'll get an email and they'll let us know when it's going to be aired. But a pretty random experience, pretty funny, pretty cool. But yeah, I'll finish that story off another time and let you know how much cash the boys walked away with. But look, let's talk some top-end cash here as well. And the defenders, how are we going to see them? Probably not going to be a stack of surprises here in your top 4. But if you were just wondering how I see them ranked, well, your number 1 guy for me and first pick player, Nick Dacos. Absolute superstar. A few people I'm sort of seeing go with Stewart or Sicily as D1, trying to save that little bit of marginal coin. But I just sort of see Dacos as a generational player. And for years, I didn't pick Gary Ablett, saying that he'd drop in value and it was a nightmare. So there won't be too many years in the future where we can pick Dacos as a defender. So I'm going to lap it up. In at number 2, Tom Stewart. Now, this view almost gets formed off today because the Hawks had a howler of a day today. They lost James Blank and Dylan Moore and a couple other guys. So, Sicily's always going to be someone who can free himself up and find plenty of the footy. But I think Blank and, finding a key defender, they don't have many at all, really helps Sicily to just free up hugely. So I don't see him dropping off the face of the earth, but I still have him in at number 3. But I just think a bit of unknown about how Hawthorn's backline's going to shape up. And to be honest, Stewart and Sicily are level pegging for mine anyway. All that talk about Stewart going to the midfield, it's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. He's just going to cruise around off halfback and dominate. Now, I think all 3 of these guys will again average 110 plus. I think Dacos will take his game into the 120s. But in at number 4, I've got a guy who I also think will break the 110, and I think these will be the only 4 guys to do it down back, and that's Jack Sinclair. Now, isn't quite getting as much love in the percentages as you can see, but I think Sinclair's an absolute gun. He rolls around that half-back line and even through the midfield, just doing what he likes. Now, I wouldn't have him quite with those top 3, but he's only a smidgen behind, and I think he will average probably 3 or 4 points less than Stewart and Sicily, but I still think he'll crack the 109, 110 sort of barrier, and I think he's going to be a really nice option and maybe a slight point of difference. So I like the fact that all those other guys you're paying probably where they're at, top dollar. I actually feel like Sinclair just has the smallest bit of value. A bit like Sam Walsh. They're still expensive, but, I see them as over 600k type of guys. So there's my clear top 4. Yeah, I'd love to hear what you reckon about that and where you're seeing those guys. How many of those guys are in your actual side at the moment? For me, it's just the 2. But yeah, there'll be most sides that probably have 2, all sorts of combinations. Those spending up big, they may well have 3. So from here, I've got Luke Ryan in at number 5, and look at that, 3% for a bloke who averaged 109 last year. The absolute disrespect for poor old Luke. Is it because he's in WA? I don't know what it is, but he has been as consistent as ever and actually had one of his better years last year. Now, I guess he's well overs. I wouldn't start him either, but he deserves a little bit more respect than that. I see him probably dropping his average back to the early 100s. I think last year was an outstanding year where I think Freo played a game style which lent itself to plenty of marks and kicks for Ryan. I'll probably see him more in that 98 to 102 category, but that's not to say he couldn't do what he did last year again. I think he's a gun, but yeah, I just had to put him at number 5 just for consistent respect. He's always delivering. Now, number 6, it started to get tricky, and I just had to respect Dan Houston. There was a couple of guys that I see boosting their averages up, which I'll mention in a second, but I just had to go with Houston, and he's just such a consistent performer as well, and a guy that doesn't get too much respect either. There won't be many that pick him. That's reflected in his percentage, but he does deliver time and time again. Now, plays midfield, plays half-back. I think it'll be predominantly half-back now, but still finds plenty of the footy. That 106, I think that's top end, a bit like Luke Ryan. I envision him sort of dropping it back to the high 90s, but still very reliable, very quality player. In at number 7 and 8, I've got a couple of guys on the rise, a couple of younger type players. I was half tempted by a Newman or a Short or a Ridley, but I just sort of felt, I don't know. I mean, they're sort of consistent and good options, but I was just more excited by some others. And in at number 7, I had Hayden Young. So certainly nearly had him above Houston. Just put Houston in front of him because he's done it time and time again. Young, we're looking for a breakout, looking to really take those numbers from good, early 90s to high 90s. And I think he will. If you said, Shorty, what's he going to average? I'd be saying around that 95 to 99. Really good option now running through the midfield at the Dockers. High pick in the past. He's shown class at half-back, but I think we'll see his best footy through the midfield. Bigger body type, lots of tackles, really nice left boot on him. And yeah, I think certainly justified for, a pretty high percent that will have him at D3, 35%. He's been in my side a lot. Currently is in my team. So he's got a lot of upside. And look, in at number 8, I've got Harry Sheasel, and I just couldn't help but respect the generational type of player that he is. Over a Short, over a Lloyd, over a Ridley, over a Newman. I just felt I had to chuck him in there. We all questioned Nick Dacos the second time around, and look what he did. I'm not necessarily saying Sheasel's going to come out and average 115. Clearly not. I've got him at number 8. But I can certainly see him averaging around the 95, 96. He may well back it up with averaging a touch under 100 again, which would be pretty incredible. So he's all class. He's going to get a bit more attention now. It'll be interesting to see where they play him because he has spent time in the forward line where the Roos really need him, where he was eased into his career off half-back. So I just wonder, will he make a transition into a forward? I doubt it, but he was so good off half-back. Will he transition more midfield? He's so good on all parts of the ground that it'll be quite interesting to see where it all lands. But that's my top 8. So you can really make up your premiums in any way you like from that. I mentioned a few names that were sort of honourable mentions. A couple others. Lockie Whitfield, outstanding back end of the year last year. I reckon he's back. I'm not brave enough to pick him, but if you have him on the board in draft and you're looking for a premium after some of these guys are already picked, Whitfield's a really good option. Then you've got Kitty Coleman, who I've talked heaps about this preseason, and Nasai Wanganeen-Miller. He was my guy last year. I ran with him. He let me down early, but he finished very, very strong. And maybe that's the only slight knock on Sinclair as well, is that Wanganeen-Miller may start to blossom and they share a little bit of that, a bit like Caleb Daniel and Bailey Dale. You sort of don't know which way to go. But yeah, I think he's certainly a defender for the future that we'll pick, and one that I really like. So few names to have a think about there. Hopefully this one helps you out for your classic, but even more so for your draft, because it's good to know not just your top end premiums, but just the ones a rung below that you need to snare up as the draft goes on. But yeah, hope you guys have a nice weekend. I'll be back soon, and yeah, have a good one. Cheers.